Hello, my loves. I'm about to go live on an interview with a lady in Denver. It's actually a radio show.
The MandyConnell Show is sponsored by Bell & Pollock Accident and Injury Lawyers.
Now, it's MandyConnell. On KOA, 850 AM.
94.1 FM.
Welcome to the second hour of the show, and I am pleased as punch to have another speaker from the upcoming Stop the War on Children rally that is happening October. I should have had this in front of me, and I don't, but I know it's October 5th on the west steps of the Colorado State Capitol at 10 a.m. It is sponsored by our friends at Gays Against Groomers, and one of the speakers is a person who probably knows way more about drag and drag shows than I do, and that is Lady Maga USA. And Lady Maga, welcome to the show, first of all.
Well, hello. It's an honor to be here. God bless America. God bless you. And I'm just so honored to be able to talk to you today. Thank you for having me on.
Well, I'm so glad you could make it because you have quite the persona as Lady Maga USA. Tell me a little bit about your alter ego.
Well, my alter ego is a drag persona, Lady Maga USA, obviously Make America Great Again. And I created this persona because I've been a drag artist for years and years and years, but I watched the hijacking of the gay community by the LGBTQIA, ever-expanding alphabet, queer nonsense, everything. And I just couldn't consider myself a member of that alleged community anymore. I was a closeted Trump supporter. Now, I grew up Mormon. I'm from Utah. Came out of the closet as a Mormon. You know, that was challenging. But let me tell you, coming out of the closet as a gay Trump supporter was 1,000 times, I'm not joking, it was 1,000 times more difficult. I lost my entire 8-year career in the airline industry. I lost a whole community of friends. I tried to organize my very first event. They were threatening to throw bricks at my head. So this community is just out of control. They are vitriolic, they are aggressive, and they're not about inclusion and tolerance. They're about cultural dominance. You will use our pronouns. You are transphobic if you don't think a 13-year-old girl should get a mastectomy. So as a closeted Trump supporter, I was like, how can I enter this movement and have fun and be myself and make a splash and really make a difference? And we got Senate Bill 16 passed here in Utah that made it illegal for predators to chemically castrate, drug, and mutilate children in the name of gender-affirming care. So, you know, it's been 5 years. There's been ups and there's downs, but it's been quite an adventure, and Lady Maga just makes people happy. And I'm a man. I don't claim to be a woman. You know, I don't belong in women's sports. I don't belong in women's bathrooms. I just like to wear a wig and play the character and be fabulous and have fun.
So let me ask you this, because, you know, I love a good drag show. Some of my favorite times and memories with my friends have been at drag shows because they're fun and they're over the top and they can be bawdy and risque. But I was truly baffled when there seemed to be this cultural divide line of these parents that seemed hell-bent on exposing their little children to that kind of art. Where do you come down on that? And when did you realize that this is kind of entering a new arena?
Well, that's another reason I stepped away from the mainstream drag community, because I saw countless videos of drag queens in miniskirts, you know, not sitting with their legs crossed in front of little children in libraries, invading taxpayer-funded public spaces, such as schools and such as libraries. The taxpayers who are in those schools or who are visiting that library did not give consent for a sexualized drag show to be going on in those public venues. If they're doing it in a private venue, that's sort of another argument. Like, people can take children to an R-rated movie. I disagree with that, but parental rights. But when they're in a public library or a public school or a public place, and they're putting on just disgusting, debaucherous sexual performances, twerking, first of all, it gave drag a bad name. And second of all, I'm not here for that. There's sort of two types of drag. There's there's weird people who want to be sexual and somehow they like to feel sexy and all of that. And then there's the over-the-top, campy, silly, comedic type queens like myself. I've got this big, larger than life, like Barbie persona. I'm covered neck to toe if I'm going to be in a public place. I have no desire to sexualize myself, especially in public. So I just believe that it's all part of the agenda, the globalist agenda, to destroy the family, to destroy our fundamental Judeo-Christian culture in this country. And by confusing children through Drag Queen Story Hour, they're pushing a very specific agenda. They're not reading like Where the Wild Things Are or Ramona or whatever. They are reading very carefully, politically selected books about erasing gender, confusing children, transgenderism, and topics that little children should not even be considering. They should be learning the ABCs. So that's my problem with Drag Queen Story Hour. And for public performances that they do in parks, I don't care. If you're over the top and you're some fat black guy and you want to do Aretha Franklin, nobody cares. Literally, like, no one cares. Good for you. Use your obesity for a creative cause. But that being said, if they had only been doing that sort of campy over the top silliness, nobody would care. So the left likes to claim that everybody's anti-drag, it's gonna be illegal. They always tell me they're gonna put me in a camp. And it's like, no, if you read the legislation that has to do with drag or whatever, it's about lewdness and indecency in public. It's not about your desire to dress up and be an idiot. You can do that. Just don't be a sick pervert in public in front of kids. Leave the kids alone, it's crazy.
Lady Maga USA is my guest, and will you be appearing in your full regalia at the Stop the War on Children rally in October?
I will. As much as the novelty of dressing up has completely worn off, this is sort of the political tool. No, it has. Like, I've done this so much. This is the political tool that I use to defy the left. And for example, me testifying for Senate Bill 16 to protect children from transmutilation in Utah, I can say what other people can't say. I can say this wig, this makeup, and this costume does not make me a woman. And I've loved this stuff since I was little. Like, I was born ready to sparkle, dress ups, Barbies, all that kind of stuff. And one of my primary messages, if you have a child like I was, who's totally different, who wants to play with dolls, who wants pink, they are not in the wrong body. They are not in the wrong body. They're just a fabulous kid who's a little bit different. But had I been born to woke parents today, I would have been easily convinced that I was a girl. And I would have followed everything they told me because they groom children into believing that they're in the wrong body. So by presenting myself as Lady Maga USA, it really is just a huge defiance of the left. And it's also a public way of saying, you don't own us, and I only identify as gay. American first. My pride flag is the American flag. But as a gay man, common sense gay people have to stand up. And that includes a drag artist, because drag has always been a part of gay culture. Clean it up. Separate ourselves from this terrible, awful, predatory movement that from the Human Rights Campaign to GLAAD to the Democrat Party, every single LGBTQIA++ agenda is focused on children in 2024. And that's something I cannot support.
Well, let me just ask you this, because you already mentioned the fact that you grew up Mormon. Mormons have historically been unfriendly to gay folks, not exactly the warmest welcome. And I ask you that in that way only to ask, what do you say to people who say, look, if we don't do this, if we don't normalize every single aspect of the gay community, then gay children are going to kill themselves, or gay children, are going to be tortured or in some way harmed? How do you respond to that, when I'm sure it wasn't the easiest thing in the world for you to come to your Mormon parents and say, hey, by the way, I'm gay?
Of course. Well, the weaponization of suicidality is their number one emotionally manipulative tool to convince people that it's death or it's trans hormones. And by the way, you said gay child, my gay son, my gay whatever. They have erased the term gay from LGBTQ activism. It is now the queer community, my queer child, and especially my trans child is gonna kill themselves. You're not gonna hear any of them say gay anymore. Like they said Ron DeSantis had the don't say gay bill. They're the ones who don't say gay. But I celebrate that divide. I want good old-fashioned gay people like those of us who support gays against groomers to completely step away and say, look, we want to live our lives. We want a white picket fence. We want to make the world fabulous. We'll be your hairstylist. You know, if you're a lesbian, we'll fix your truck. We have no desire to indoctrinate your children or impose our way of life or our sexuality on others. So they are so good at what they do because they're able to manipulate the vast majority of the public into thinking that if you don't encourage hormones, if you don't encourage a girl to cut off her breasts when she's 13 years old. I mean, Chloe Cole was 15 years old. She'll never recover from that trauma. They say suicide is the only other option. No, the only other option is to teach that young person that they are beautiful just the way they are. Their body is perfect. There is nothing wrong with them, and that they have been groomed and convinced by others that there's something wrong with them, when in fact, they're just different. Save the tomboys. Save the boys like me who are feminine, you know. A little lip gloss doesn't mean you're a woman. It just means you're different. And that's okay. So we can have that conversation about being loving. And as for growing up Mormon, you know, people often ask me what that was like and how hard it was. To tell you the truth, it wasn't hard until after I served my Mormon mission, because I grew up in this very safe environment where I did not need to think about my sexuality. I was in scouts, I was in church activities, I was on high adventure hikes, I was in student council, I was in the school plays. Young people, especially teenagers, their sexuality should not be their focus. Their grades should be their focus. Their school activities should be their focus. And then I served a Mormon mission in France for 2 years, and I was the most devout missionary you ever met. So I didn't really have to face my sexuality until after I had served that mission. And I came to terms, and I just never became bitter or anti-Mormon. I view growing up Mormon as this awesome, uplifting, don't drink, don't smoke, don't cuss, don't watch R-rated movies, boo-hoo. It was a great upbringing. And I had this safe group of incredible Mormon friends and this safe environment that I was in. And I don't regret that. So I just view it as I graduated the program, and I don't feel like the Mormons have to change their doctrines. Religious tolerance goes both ways. And the LGBTQIA plus does not believe in tolerance. They would make it illegal for a church to not accept homosexuality if they could. And that is not diversity, tolerance, and inclusion. That's cultural dominance.
It was a very quick leap, because I have long advocated for gay marriage. It was a position in other markets that I was at complete odds with my audience, right? But for me, the argument was not about church doctrine as much as it was about legal status, right? Because we weren't talking at the time of forcing churches to perform gay marriages. I always said, I'll be the first on that protest line too if you try to force it. But the speed with which we went from we just want to be able to marry the people that we want to marry to you not only must accept us but must celebrate our life and who we are has been pretty remarkable to watch. And hearing you talk about it from your perspective kind of confirms what I already knew. It's like, it feels like the activists and all of the normal gay people that I've known my entire life who really did just want to get married, they got it done, and they all kind of went, okay, we're just going to sit back and be married now. And the activists were like, oh no, we're just getting started.
That's exactly right. You know, the religious right often talks about the slippery slope. And I'm like, well, voila, you guys are vindicated. However, that being said, the gay issue was over. Nobody cared if your neighbors were lesbians, you know, wearing their flannel with their short hair. Nobody cared. Nobody cared about their gay cousin, their gay nephew. It was a non-issue. We achieved our goal of just being able to visit our partner in the emergency room, get married. My opinion is the government should never have had anything to do with marriage. I'm libertarian on that, but I won't go into that. But you know, we reached a point where we did have common sense integration into society. That is why GLAAD, Human Rights Campaign, Democrat Party, they realized, holy moly, the gay victim narrative no longer works. And we're not going to have our millions and millions of dollars in funding. We need to accelerate a new victim narrative because perpetual victimization is very lucrative. That's one. And two, Big Pharma is making billions of dollars off of these evil drugs that they're pumping into children and adults. And so that is why the LGBTQ alphabet kept expanding. And now they have this new queer definition, which is just straight people. In the old days, no, I'm serious. The people who shopped at Hot Topic are now LGBTQ because they get to identify as queer or whatever they want. And really, they're just straight people who want attention, and especially white people who want attention, because white people can't be special. They don't get to be a minority. They don't get to be Black power. They don't get to be a Latino. So the only way they get to join the trendy victim Olympics is by identifying as queer. So you put on a little black nail polish and suddenly you're part of the LGBTQ community, and that gives the activists at the Human Rights Campaign way more power now.
Lady Maga USA is going to be at the rally to stop the war on children. It's happening October 5th at the West Steps of the Colorado State Capitol at 10 a.m. She is just one of a long line of speakers that will
You can call me he. You can call me he.
It's going to he, well, you know, I was just trying to...
Well, the persona is obviously a female character, but I always make sure people are comfortable knowing that they never have to refer to me as she. The character is obviously a female character, but the pronoun Nazis are terrifying, so I just make sure you could just call me a man whether I'm wearing makeup and a wig or not.
All right, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I hope everybody supports this. Lady Maga USA, thank you for your time. You are outstanding.
Well, thank you. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, one word, Lady Maga USA, and on Facebook, Lady Maga USA.
All right. Thank you, sir. And we'll meet again.
God bless you. I can't wait to meet you in person. Whew. And there you have it, folks. Story of my life.